Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Tuesday, August the 6th. Let's call it Turnaround Tuesday, because typically what happens when an index drops more than one or more percent in the last 3 sessions going into a weekend. So if it drops on Thursday and Friday going into the weekend and then drops more than 1% again on the Monday, we typically have a turnaround on a Tuesday, and that is what we're seeing here. So we can see the futures across the board are in the green. The NASDAQ up almost 1%. Pre-market trading, S&P 500 the same, and the Dow Jones up about 0.7. If we take a look over at regular indices and the overview page, what we'll see here is a recap of yesterday. If we move to APAC, though, you can see the Nikkei over in Japan has increased 10%, recovered 10% today. So we may be in for something similar today, if that is any indication of where things are going. So if we take a look at the volatility index, the VIX here at the top, you can see 31.23. It's come down 7 points or a significant amount, but it touched, I think it was up as high as in the 60s yesterday. And this is something that if we look at the 1 month, I mean, this has been flatlining around 12 to 13 in that, let's call it 12 to 15 range for a significant amount of time. Go back 6 months, you can see that it really didn't, I don't even think it peaked at 20 here. Yeah, it was up in the 18s, maybe 19s. If you go back for the year, you can see that it has been as high here as 21, but it has been relatively low, and now it has spiked significantly. So one thing to be aware of is the 2 trading months that are often the most volatile and rocky in the year are August and October, and we've obviously just entered August in 2024, so we have to be a little bit cautious when it comes to what we are investing in, and it's always a good idea to have a little bit of dry powder or cash on the sidelines that you can deploy if something corrects and you see a buying opportunity, which yesterday may in fact turn out to have been a great buying opportunity. Do not be upset if you missed it. There will be many more of these, and today could be an example of that. So the thing you want to keep in mind is if you are going to be making trades based on volatility, you want to get into those trades and out in a relatively quick or short amount of time. You don't want to sit on these for days or weeks on end, because the volatility has a way of dragging that position that's a profitable one and in the green down to a negative one and an unprofitable one that's in the red. So make your trade, get out during the day, take your profits, and just wait for that price movement and volume activity to hit a level where you think it's good to get back in. If we start our look through the stocks that we follow in health and retail, I wouldn't be doing much in retail right now because we're hearing a lot of bad coming out of consumer spending, a lot of consumers not spending in areas where they obviously need to make expenses or they need to purchase things, but not for wants. So I'm personally staying out of retail. Healthcare, not a bad sector to be in. It's not going to grow like a rocket ship, but you do have some good companies in there. Again, something that I'm holding in Humana right now, not buying more of, even after it dipped. I feel like the weighting in Humana in my portfolio is at a point where I don't need to acquire more. I'll just wait until it comes back to the point in which I entered it. So I am in the red and underwater on Humana right now, but I'm holding it through to the end of the year to see what happens. And that would be considered a swing trade for me. JB Hunt took a hit yesterday, still not down in the 150s. I would be waiting for that to get back into the mid 150s before I took a bite at that apple again and acquired that. CNR, I like this stock right now in the low 150s or the mid 150s. I think it's going to come down a little bit further, so I'd wait on that. The one thing I'm finding interesting about the news in the market these days is with all the tensions over in the Middle East and something very likely to happen in terms of a retaliation attack, I find it interesting that crude futures are still continuing to go down in price and not up in price to reflect some of the tensions. So you've got crude down just under $73 a barrel for September 24th futures. Now, on the other side, the oil refinery stocks, at least in the pre-market today, as you can see, almost all in the red. They took a bit of a beating yesterday, certainly not as bad as some of the others in different sectors. Now, getting down into one of the sectors that was hit super hard, that's tech. So you can see that most of the tech is in the green. The NASDAQ futures are in the green. One that is up almost 10% or more is Palantir Technologies. Palantir yesterday came out with earnings. Earnings were very positive. They talked to how they're making progress with their AI investments, which is a good thing to hear because there's been a lot of talk in the narrative lately about how companies have been investing in AI but aren't starting to see a return yet or as quickly as the market may have anticipated. So hearing from companies like Palantir that's using AI and hearing them say that AI is paying off is certainly good news from a market perspective for those semiconductor stocks. As we scroll down to see who the other big movers are, you can see that Microsoft is looking to make a $5, $4.50 gain in the pre-market. Now, it was hit pretty hard over the last few days, so definitely an attractive longer-term purchase here with Microsoft under $400. I'm not sure you can really go wrong with that if you're going to hold it through to the end of the year. You should have a nice, tidy, probably 5 to 10% return on that with very little downside risk. ARM has been all over the map, down at 110. I still find it's overpriced, but this is a stock that is definitely significantly down from its highs just really a week ago from where it was sitting, or at least in the last 2 weeks. onsemi did pretty well yesterday as well. onsemi was actually one of the stocks in the green yesterday, coming out of the NASDAQ sell-off, and AMD as well. AMD held on to some gains yesterday and looks like it's set to make a few more gains this morning. And then you have LRCX, which is Lam Research. It was also positive yesterday and looks like it'll be positive today. That's an attractive stock in the $700 range, where it's priced in the high $700 range, where it's priced right now. That was an $1,100 or $1,000 stock in around that midpoint range of $1,000 to $1,100 just within the last 2 weeks, and has a very, very successful business model going into this, call it, new era of chip manufacturing and chip expansion to support AI across business sectors and industries. And then as we scroll down, Amazon got hit as one of the big names. Meta fell significantly. I bought some Meta yesterday towards the end of the day, and it looks like it's going to turn and make a bit of a profit there. Very good fundamentals behind Meta, so I have no concerns about buying that stock on a significant dip. NVIDIA dropped below $100, which is a buyer entry point from my perspective yesterday. Google also fell and would have been a buyer entry point, but both Google and Apple are going to have to rectify a situation that came out of a judgment yesterday in the US around antitrust, and both Google's revenue and Apple's are going to be affected out of this judgment. So this is where Google pays Apple an undisclosed amount of money to be the default search engine on all iPhone and Apple devices, and that is now been considered to be to go against what I guess the antitrust rules. So it's market domination, I believe, is what they're referring that to, and that is going to reduce profits to Apple and reduce search revenue to Google. So both firms are going to get hit from a revenue standpoint there going forward. So I don't think we've yet to see the fallout from that. So I'm not buying into Google or Apple right now. I'm going to wait until we start to hear that spoken about more and what the potential fallout will mean to those two companies. I think Google could come down into the 140s after that message gets spread across the market and really digested by analysts and factored in to future earnings growth. Adobe is going to announce results later this month, so I believe that that is a strong buy after the dip down, but again, more volatility coming, so don't expect it to rebound in a single day. SoFi, if you bought into SoFi at the beginning of the market yesterday, which would have been hard to stomach and hard to do, you would have made an absolute killing. I love this stock. I did not buy in. I regret not buying in, but I didn't know what the market was going to do, so I decided to be a little more risk averse. And that stock recovered nicely yesterday, and it looks like it's going to continue its upward trajectory into the day. What I did purchase in the financials yesterday was I bought a little bit of Goldman as it dropped into the mid 450s, and I do see this stock as a $550 stock by the end of the year. So I figure that is a good buy and hold, even through some volatility, as well as Morgan Stanley. I'll be looking to acquire some of that and some JP Morgan as well. I did not buy any of that yesterday myself, but we'll be looking to do that based on the price movement of those two. If we look down to our earnings and events calendar for the week, we have Airbnb coming out today, Reddit today, Devon Energy, IDEX Laboratories, and Summit Therapeutics, which are stocks that we're watching. I don't believe Airbnb is going to have great numbers. I think they're going to be struggling based on consumer spending cutbacks, especially with the airlines and seeing the results of the airline stocks this quarter. I think it's bound to hit the hotels and Airbnb stock. I don't believe we're going to see positive numbers from Reddit either. I think ad revenue is going to be lower than expected, and the growth in the number of users on the platform probably not up to market expectations. Devon Energy, I think, will have positive numbers, but lower year over year than they were, as most of the oil companies have reported. I really haven't been keeping up with IDEX, but I believe they had a good quarter last quarter. I'm just guessing on that, to be perfectly honest. They come out pre-market, so they may have already announced what those earnings are. And then Summit is more of a long-term, again, not one that I regularly follow, but it's on our long-term list. So that's where we are today. Good luck with your trades, and if you're like